Hey, you, what's up? I'll tell you what's up. Today I have the pleasure to be with Christine Fontaine, who's an English teacher from Manitoba, Canada. And before we start, would you mind briefly telling us a bit more about the services you offer and the type of clients you're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an English coach and I focus specifically on conversations and tasks and mindsets. So I often have clients who are looking to improve a particular task in their professional setting.
And would you say that your clients are more from Quebec, Canada, or from Europe?
They've been mostly from Quebec in Canada so far, but I am really looking to expand and helping people in France and Belgium and Switzerland and even different parts of Africa as well.
More about French speakers in Manitoba. I have 1,000 questions, but first of all, how many French speakers are there?
Well, as of 2021, we're about 39,000 approximately of mother tongue, like people who learned French as their first language. And we're located mostly in Winnipeg, in the south of Manitoba and of also the northwest. We have small little communities there. But we have a lot of French immersion as well, like a lot of Anglophones that learn French. So in terms of having the ability to be fluent and have conversations, we're about 110,000 or so. And that is out of a 1.3 million population here in Manitoba.
So I understand that's your case. French is your mother tongue and the one you speak with your family.
That's right.
But did you also go to a French-speaking school?
I did, yeah. So they have a French school division, a province-wide one, that serves all French speakers from kindergarten to grade 12. So I went to Collège Louriel. So all my schooling until I was in high school was in French, except English classes. And then I took my Bachelor of Education as well at the Université de Saint-Boniface as well. So that was my second degree. I took my first one at the University of Manitoba. So that was in English.
How was your experience? Was there like a rule you're not supposed to speak in English? Were you bilingual at the time, or how did it work?
Well, French is actually my first language, and then I learned English when I was 8. Since 8, I've been, until I was probably about 12. I'd say that's when I really grasped both languages really well. Yes, when I was in high school, it was very much, hey, speaking French. And you do, in a sense, have to instill that. I think there might be some different ways of going about it. Instead of punishing, you want to kind of encourage. But everything is in English here. Like the essence of cool is in English. So we say we catch the English language here. On va l'attraper. It's very common. So we have to instill that. I've heard it my whole life, speaking French, and now I have to make that own effort for myself to be around the French environment to make sure that I'm engaged in it as much as possible.
That's so cool. And except for your family, who do you speak French with? Do you have like friends, or are you like part of a community? And do you go out to restaurants, or how does it work? And is it the same also sometimes, there is one person that doesn't speak French. Would everybody switch, or is there like an effort from people who are Anglophones to try to speak and understand French?
Well, the norm is often that we will revert to speaking English. We want to be inclusive. We want everybody to understand what we're saying. So yes, we will revert to it. There are some Anglophones that are looking to practice and to engage. So we call them the Francophiles. So often, they want to engage in it. So we'll have the conversation, but the norm really is to revert to English. In my case, I have lots of friends that speak French. On the phone, I speak French, and depending on what it is that I'm talking about. I find that I speak more on practical terms, like when I talk about my day or like what's going on in my life, like on daily stuff in French. And then when I talk more about my thoughts and my feelings, I kind of revert back a little bit more to English.
Oh, wow, interesting. Okay. But more to get a sense of the Manitoban French flavor. Do you mind introducing yourself once again, but in French this time?
Je m'appelle Christine Fontaine et je suis née ici à Winnipeg. J'ai été élevée ici aussi à Winnipeg, dans la province du Manitoba, qui est au centre du Canada. Alors, en effet, il y a 10 km d'ici, il y a un gros signe qui dit « Vous êtes au centre du Canada ». Je suis enseignante entrepreneuse. J'ai ma propre business en coaching. Alors, je suis coach d'anglais. J'aide ceux et celles qui sont en francophone à se mettre à niveau en anglais. Et je me focalise en particulier sur les tâches, le mindset et les conversations pour aider mes clients à se mettre à niveau dans un domaine particulier ou un poste ou un rôle particulier.
Now, here in Quebec, Anglicisms are a big deal. To be fair, in practice, we use a lot of them too, but would you say that you naturally use some when you speak French, like, sprinkling a few English words here and there, or it's something you try to avoid?
I try to avoid it as much as possible, but I'll catch myself, and some of them are just very colloquial to our region as well. So we'll just use it because it's just, how we speak and how we've adopted it. So it depends in the context in which I'm in. If it's more professional, I'll really make sure to avoid it. When it's with friends and family, a little bit less. But we'll have little ones like, for example, j'ai fait une application, like quand j'ai fait une demande, ou j'allais chercher la malle quand c'est le courrier. When it's mail, le mal, that's one of them. Ou laisse-moi savoir au lieu de c'est mon courant. That's a very, very common one.
Oh, let me know. Oh, I haven't thought about that one. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a common one. Or il faut que je me pratique. Il faut que je m'entraîne.
Right.
So that maybe I need to practice a lot.
Yeah.
Je vais aller chercher du gaz. Like il faut que j'aille chercher de l'essence. I have to get some gas.
Yeah. Oh, but to be fair, this is it's actually similar to English because in the UK they would say I need to get petrol.
That's true.
But in the US they say gas. So I think the difference is similar because I've never heard anyone say j'ai besoin d'aller chercher de l'essence here in Quebec.
Non, ouais, ok. Oh non, on va dire l'essence aussi des fois, mais
oh, yeah?
Ouais, ça dépend.
But here, for example, we'd say ça fait du sens, it makes sense. But a lot of people say that to the extent where it's normal to say it. So now people don't actually know what comes from English and what doesn't. I was more thinking about words, for example, that here in Quebec they would say, oh, if the word doesn't exist in French, sometimes it's the case, we'll create one to make it French. And so, for example, selfie. Everybody says selfie, even in French, even in France. But here, you're supposed to say ego portrait. But apart from journalists on TV, nobody uses that. Or skateboard, roulis roulant, I've never heard anyone say that in Quebec.
No, I don't think I've ever heard that one.
Now, to compare with another province. So, for example, Acadians from New Brunswick, sometimes they're so self-conscious about their accent, especially when they meet people from Quebec or from France who would make comments or who would make fun of them, they would self-censor themselves. And some will end up switching to English because it's just easier and they don't face that discrimination. Does that also happen in Manitoba for French speakers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and it depends on the person because some of them will just continue in French. They have a lot of courage. But sometimes it's often that they'll start speaking in French and then maybe the person from Quebec might start speaking English.
Right.
Or they just get mad. A lot of them just get upset, I know that when I was younger that happened to me a few times too. And I just kind of, asked them like, hey, I'm speaking in French. Like, is there a reason why you're answering in English? But that doesn't happen anymore, I don't find. Not for me anyways. I think it has to do a lot with the French language has a bit of a culture of perfectionism. We expect the best in a lot of the things. That's probably why you guys are amazing in your luxury goods side of things. There's a certain ideal of what French will be like, and at first it's because I thought, I come from a small, majority of Anglophones are around me, and it's a small French community, and I might not have all the best ways to say certain things, and I adopt a lot of Anglicisms. But I would say that I noticed when I had friends in France and that they also correct themselves like amongst each other. So I saw it as part of the culture. I've seen it in movies as well. That it's just kind of an ideal, and we kind of do amongst each other that you kind of can't take it seriously, and just be proud of the dialect and the way that you might speak it, and that will come through with everyone else that you speak with.
So that brings me to my last question, the sense of identity. The goal here is not to judge or criticize. I understand it's a very personal question, but here in Quebec, a lot of French speakers don't feel Canadian because they feel like they have their own culture, they have their own language, their own history, and some actually still want to become an independent province. I understand that it's very different in Manitoba, but do you also feel that way? Do you feel part of a French minority more than anything, or do you feel both French and Canadian?
I feel both French and Canadian. I am very proud of my French heritage. I mean, mine essentially goes back to the first settlers that came in Quebec. So I very much identified with the French culture, and I'm very proud of it. But I also very much identify with the Anglophone culture as well. And I am first and foremost a Canadian. I always will be. I love the inclusiveness. I hope that we can come to an understanding that we have two very, very dominant cultures in Canada, and that we are both very proud of it, and we can, be inclusive and get along. There was the referendum when I was in grade 7. I was really saddened that there was possibility that the whole province, and I'm like, where does that leave me, in that sense, just because I very much identify with them as well, even though I'm very far away. I think that there's definitely room for more understanding and tolerance from both sides, and to get to learn from each other, so we can identify ourselves as proud Canadians first and foremost.
And in terms of cultural content, like movies or music, do you watch and listen more to French-speaking content or English ones?
I must say it's English. There's a lot more options, I guess you could say. It's what most people talk about too around here. Oh, did you watch this series? Did you hear this? And no, so I definitely watch a lot more English. It's a bit more of that cool culture when it comes to the American culture in itself, and that's around the world, right? But I watch a lot of French series as well. I find it's a nice break too from the whole Hollywood thing as well. One of my favorite ones is called Un Village Français, and I absolutely love it. They also have really great movies too in Quebec. It really portrays a certain culture. There's really emotions really related to the stories, and they really have a bit different take on the reality of life a little bit more, I find, sometimes than American content. So I do appreciate it a lot.
All right, so I'll be asking you a few questions, and you have to answer as fast as possible. So, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
What's your favorite season?
Season, summer.
Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
Where did you last go on vacation?
Indonesia, Bali.
Oh, cool. Who do you text the most?
My sister.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color, green.
Except for your sister, do you have any other siblings?
Yes, I have a brother.
Do you speak any other languages apart from French and English?
I speak Spanish on a basic intermediate level.
Awesome. Would you say you're street smart or book smart?
Street smart.
Nice. Would you rather sleep in late or take a long nap during the day?
Long nap during the day.
All right, so that concludes the rapid fire questions.
You're a French speaker looking to improve your English, you can send me a message either on TikTok at Anglais Parfait, or on Instagram at Anglais and then barre en bas and Parfait on Instagram, or you can also look me up at Christine Fontaine on LinkedIn and send me a message there. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you and see where you're at and see what I can do to help.
If you enjoyed this video, please let me know with a thumbs up or in the comments, and don't forget to share and subscribe to support this channel. See ya!